Today's video is coming at you from a recovering, what shall we call this? A recovering pleasure seeker, a recovering addict to feeling good. This all started in or around 2011, 2012, when I first came across the documentary on Netflix called The Secret. It is about the law of attraction and this concept that we attract what we think about. And I was enthralled with this documentary when I first watched it because it gave me my first semblance of control over the way I experienced life. And I was not really into meditation at that time, just this concept of sitting and observing my thoughts. And when I watched this documentary, basic concept is that you are what you think about. So if you think negative thoughts, you will continue to attract more negativity into your life. And likewise, if you can catch yourself in what you're thinking and redirect your thoughts into something positive or tuning your thoughts to what you want, then you will begin to attract those things into your life. And so I experimented with that over the next few years, and some good and bad things happened. I learned some lessons along the way, but where I sit today with this is that the law of attraction is great in principle, but without the integration of some of the other principles, it's a road that eventually took me to where I didn't want to go. Now I had to go down that road to find the other roads, but only focusing on positivity is a bypassing of what I'm actually feeling in my body. And that is the answer, the solution to someone who is addicted to pleasure. And I want to talk about that for another minute or two before I go into that. This concept of being addicted to pleasure, of prioritizing the law of attraction so vehemently that things get overlooked. And what I mean by that is, first of all, just to acknowledge the reason that someone might be a pleasure seeker, someone like myself. Why do I seek pleasure? I don't seek pleasure just to drink from the cup of pleasure. It is ultimately, or it has been ultimately, to cover up unwanted feelings that I'm experiencing, feelings of inadequacy or feelings of depression or dejection or rejection, anything that would make me feel down or negative. I realized I had this power to change the way that I was feeling by refocusing my thoughts on something I wanted to feel, or refocusing my activity. And that could be anything from food to sex or masturbation or drinking or drugs or anything that would serve as a distraction to actually addressing the negative thing that I was actually feeling. And so what's the message today? The message today is not to starve yourself of pleasures so that you're feeling all the misery. But like anything, there needs to be a balance, a middle road. And so if the answer is not self-medicating with anything that makes me feel good, the answer is also not starving myself of those things only so that I feel bad. So it begs the question, what is the value of not seeking pleasure when I feel a negative emotion? And this is so important. So I want to repeat that reflection and really let that sink in, because we come to these choice points that happen so quickly that we don't even realize we're falling into a pattern that has maybe been there for many years for us, or for myself. I'll speak for myself, that when I'm feeling a certain way, I reach for something to make me feel good. And if you can catch yourself in that place, we tend to swing we tend to play martyr and swing so much in the opposite direction with, oh, you want me to starve myself, or oh, you want me to feel this negative thing. It's not about feeling good or bad. We need to drop that out of the lexicon of our daily goal. It's about being honest with the way that we're feeling. And I want to get into the value of honesty and authenticity, because what happens when we're honest and authentic with ourselves is actually going to give us what we are hoping that the pleasureful thing gives us when we complete that thing. Here's what's wrong with the pleasure seeking is that it's temporary. So when we go to reach for it and maybe we fulfill ourselves with that thing, there's always a longing, a desire for more and more and more. It wears off, it goes away. It doesn't stick around. And for some of us, for a long time, that's good enough. We accept that into our lives of, well, I'll just do the next pleasureful thing. And all of a sudden we're in this loop of feeling bad, reaching for good, feeling bad, reaching for good. And there's this bypassing of honesty or authenticity. So what is the solution? There's no perfect solution, but this is what I want to say. This is the message of today's video, is that when we are honest and authentic about the way that we're feeling, we receive the, how do I describe this? It's like a contentment of knowing the self. So much of the addiction to pleasure is out of this belief that I don't know any other way. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know how to resolve the negative emotion that I'm feeling. I don't know any other way. And so the way is to just be honest. And whether that's through journaling or making a video or sharing with a loved one how you're feeling, it's very difficult. We need to develop this communication of honesty and authenticity, and we're not really taught this. This is not something that is even promoted. Quite often, people are shamed for being honest, or made to feel guilty. Going back to childhood, so much of what you feel when you feel negative is an inconvenience to other people, especially if you have a caretaker or a parent whose responsibility it is to look after you. And so we've learned to not be honest. It's not a valued thing in our society to be honest about the negative things that we're feeling. And so meanwhile, the more we shove those things down, the more that we're projecting this negativity. And just because we're not paying attention to it doesn't mean it goes away, or that it's not destructive in our lives. It very much is. And I can draw a direct correlation to a bypassing of being honest about the negative things that we're feeling and the destructive tendencies of addiction. And if we're all honest with ourselves, whatever we're addicted to does not make our lives better. It temporarily makes us feel better, but as long as we're avoiding facing the thing, we're just perpetuating what we don't want anyway. So I really want to get into this for a few more minutes of what can you do? What are the options? How do you address this negative emotion, this negative feeling? I just wrote down a few notes, so I want to make sure I hit a couple of things that I wrote during my meditation here. Yeah, this concept of patience. The trade-off here, the most difficult thing you will face, or I have faced, in being honest about my negative emotions or feelings, is that I'm allowing them or accepting them to be there for a longer period of time than if I sought the pleasure. So the pleasure, the reason pleasure is so much of a draw, is so powerful to pull us out of our authenticity, is because it is immediate. You get that self-medication right away. It does not address the root cause, though. And this video is for people who are just kind of sick of that and want to address the root cause. For the longest time, I didn't want to go to a primary care physician or be a part of the medical system, because I had this belief that they just, throw money and medication at the symptoms. And that's true in some cases, but also that can help lead to discovery of the root cause. That's a conversation for another time, but this is generally or specifically for people who are wanting to address the root cause. And if you're desiring that, you will be asked to be patient and hold space for, if we can use that term, to hold space for allowing you to feel shitty for a while. And your response would be, well, why would I want to feel shitty? Because if you were to allow yourself to feel the pain, maybe we'll call it pain, of the negative emotion, that is the quickest way to move to and through and get out the other side so that the loop stops. I think of the analogy of the buffalo on the field or in the field. The buffalo, knowing a storm is coming, goes towards the storm, because the more quickly the buffalo goes towards the storm, the more quickly it will be over. So that's just an analogy. I'm not even sure I love that analogy of addressing negative things. It's more speaking to, well, maybe it does apply, because if the buffalo were to turn away and walk away from the storm, you can envision the clouds moving at the speed the buffalo is walking, and this rainstorm just remains over top of you, even if there's pleasure involved of thinking that you're moving away from it or avoiding it. It's sticking with you, it's staying with you. So what does it mean to go into the storm of these negative emotions? First of all, it just means being honest. Just be authentic with the way that you're feeling. Be the observer of why you're feeling shitty. And so often we have these events go on throughout our day, our interactions with people, all these different kinds of interactions, that's what we'll call them, that we judge ourselves for not showing up in a certain way. So maybe I had a conversation with somebody and it just didn't go well. I feel like their perception of me is not the way that I wanted to come across, or I didn't articulate something that I wish I had. And so I'm judging myself, and it feels lousy. We rarely draw that connection later in the day to when we're laying there 2 hours later or watching TV or doing something mindless, and we don't feel good. We're feeling like something is missing, something is not sitting well, but we can't put our finger on it. And we can draw a direct correlation quite often to these interactions that happened earlier in the day or in the recent days. And it's that ignoring or that bypassing of addressing or just acknowledging something that didn't go so well that creates this, it perpetuates this negative feeling that causes us to reach for something to make us feel good. So I wanted to make sure I drove home this value of allowing the negative thing to be there, of calling it what it is, of doing your absolute complete best to put your finger on what it is, because it's this no man's land of inarticulation that continues to pull us downward and causing us to really desire to feel a separate way. The next time that you're feeling this way, it would be my encouragement to allow yourself to feel what it is that you're feeling and do your best to articulate what's there and why. You don't always have to know the why, but when you articulate the way that you're feeling about yourself and what you're judging, usually what will happen is you will be able to draw a direct line to an experience you had that quote unquote caused you to feel that way. But the only thing that's actually happening is that you're having an experience to return yourself to look at the place where you're withholding love from yourself. That's a higher level concept for a video on another day. But once you begin to start to treat yourself in your experiences, that everything is that's happening is, let me start over here. Once you begin to treat every interaction you have as perfect in your life and exactly the experience that you're needing, then you'll begin to almost play detective role. If I'm feeling this way, why do I feel this way? What is the benefit of me feeling this way? What event did I experience that is appearing to cause me to feel this way, but is only actually nudging me in a direction to address something in myself, address a place where I'm lacking unconditional love for myself. I'm judging myself for a way an interaction went, and therefore I have adopted this belief that I'm inadequate. That's not God. That's not unconditional love. That is a belief that's based in a self-judgment, that's based in a conditional love of self, and that's not why we're here. That's not what we're doing. So really, if the reframe is that every time I feel negative is another opportunity to discover where I'm withholding unconditional love from myself. I want to say that again. Every time I'm feeling negative is an opportunity to discover where I'm withholding unconditional love from myself. And then you can make a new, different decision on how to bring unconditional love in. What does that look like? And I can tell you it does not look like the self-medication. Sometimes it can look like giving yourself something to make you feel good, but it is not the same as the addictive nature of needing that thing to make the bad, negative thing go away. So, feel what you're feeling, be authentic. That's the message today.